Good morning and welcome to Tuesday as we have our weekly talk on Tuesday. Now, normally we have different questions that are given to us. We have questions that are submitted or topics that are submitted, but when we don't, I usually have something else that we can talk about, and today is one of those days. You know, we're all extremely busy people, right? And COVID has created a whole new level of situation. And COVID has created all new issues for us to deal with. Sometimes we get to the end of our day or the end of our week, and we feel worn out. We may not feel satisfied. We're just tired of the daily grind. And we might even be thinking, you might even be thinking, there's got to be more to this thing called life, right? I mean, it just seems like I run from thing to thing, I run from event to event, I run from moment to moment, and it just doesn't seem to have any reason or purpose. Help. I get that a lot. I get a lot when it comes to these kinds of things, and so today I want to talk about what many may have called the Eisenhower Matrix. The Eisenhower Matrix is a time management tool. So if you know anybody that is struggling with time management, or they're struggling with how to make these kinds of decisions concerning time management, I'd love it if you would share this or like it or post it someplace else, comment, share with us your thoughts and feelings about it. But it centers around two things. And anytime we talk about time, we think of Ecclesiastes, or at least I do. I think of Ecclesiastes 3, where there's a time to live, there's a time to die, there's a time to get up, there's a time to go down, there's a time for everything under the sun. And I don't know about you, but it seems like some days there's not time for everything. Everything wants a piece of me. Everything wants a piece of you. And in those moments, we may not feel like there's enough time. I mean, how many of us have said, I just wish there were, 25 hours, if I just had an extra day or an extra hour in the day. And so we deal with these kinds of things, and there are times that we get to the end of our day or week and we're like, where has the time gone? And Proverbs 6:6-8 tells us to consider the ant and her ways, where, let me read it. Consider the ant, her ways, be wise, without a chief, an officer, or ruler. She prepares bread in the summer, gathers her food in the harvest. And so here we see that the ant is time management. Ant is dealing with proper time instinctively. What is it about us humans that we can't do this thing called time management? Matthew 6:33 was in your reading this last week, and said to seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. Even in that verse, there is a sense, if you will, of priority structure. First, you need to seek God and his kingdom. We're going to talk more about that when we talk about prayer, and we talk about how do we seek God, how do I talk to God. Join us Sunday as we continue our series, High Speed Connections. Today, we're going to talk about what does it mean to put these things in a time perspective. How do I put this stuff into a time process? So let's get to our matrix. And we're going to talk about how this works. And with a recommendation from last time, I'm going to try not to tap on the board. Apparently that caused all kinds of issues. So you have two major things that you have to deal with. You have to deal with the things that are urgent, and you have to deal with the things that are important. That's true. There's also things that are not urgent, and they are not important. And the problem that we have to deal with here is putting the right things in the right box. I mean, isn't that true for all of us? We have to put the right things in the right box. So when you are thinking, and you can put it in the chat, we can talk about it. When you are thinking about what is urgent and important. The urgency and the importance, things that we deal with, are things that are a crisis. The crisis, it's important and it's urgent. It's a crisis. Now, here's the situation. Got to be a crisis, a real crisis. We have people that cry wolf all the time, and they want to make it seem like it's urgent and important, but it might not be, and so we have to be very careful about this. We may have pressing problems that we have to deal with, and these are urgent and important. Deadlines are urgent and important, especially at work, with homework or your vocation. You have a deadline. Okay, you have to have this project done by this day. That puts it into a box 1 kind of situation. So if we have 1, we have 2, we have 3, we have 4. So you have 4 boxes. Box 1, the urgent and the important. These are things that are, it's a crisis, it's a pressing problem, things like this. These are things that you would say are a necessity. It's urgent and important. Hey, we're out of milk. That can be urgent and important. You got growing kids in the house. Hey, we're out of milk. We got to go get some. In our house, if we're out of green chilies or Rotel, that immediately moves into a box 1 territory. I mean, that's just how it works in our home and in our life. This box could be called the do box, because your strategy in this box is just do it. Just get these things handled, get them done, and it's going to be okay. But what about the things that are urgent, but they're not necessarily important? What kind of things can we put into this box? Because what happens in this box is this is the box of deception. This is the box of deception. That they're going to deceive you because of the urgency that is placed, whether you've placed it as an urgency or other people place it as an urgency. The people that are going to, they're going to deceive you into thinking that this is urgent and important. But I want you to understand the things that we put in this box, this is box 3, are not box 1 material. But you're going to be deceived. I've been deceived. You're going to be deceived into thinking that this is stuff we got to get done. What could it be? Well, it can be interruptions. Now, I know not all of us can control all the interruptions that we have, but there's one thing you can control. How many times do ding, 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 and we hear this thing, and what do all of, hey, I'm there, what do we all do? This phone, I might as well plaster this phone in box 3, and sometimes over here, but we can plaster this thing in box 3. Why? Because when it dings, what do? Oh, who is it? Oh, and when we might even put different rings on things. I haven't done that in a while, but it makes a lot of sense. Because if I hear a ring, that's my wife, box 1, do it now. If I hear a ring that I have set up that's spam, oh, that's box 4, I'm not dealing with that. It's an interruption, and maybe you need to turn your phone off in order to not let it overcome you and overwhelm you. Some calls, some emails that you deal with at the same time. These are things that can seem really important. Sometimes I fall into this trap. Maybe I'm waiting on an email, and what happens is I get into the habit of checking my email. So I leave a window open that has my email, and every time I see a number pop up, oh, who is it? Who emailed me? What is this? I need to go see. And what I find happening is it's nothing I need to deal with. It's something I signed up for somewhere in my life that I need to unsubscribe from because it's just sending me all kinds of emails that I don't need to read, and it's taking up my day and it's taking up my space. You know what I'm talking about. This happens to you too. There are some meetings that can deceive us into thinking that they're important. One of the things I try to live by, and it's so hard in the church. It's so hard in the church. If there's not a reason to meet, why are we meeting? Because the strategy here is that we might need to delay these things. We need to delay these things. Put that phone on silent. Close that email box. Close Facebook. Because every time you hear it ding or it buzzes in your pocket or you see the number pop up, oh, did somebody comment on my picture? I mean, I've got the cutest grandkids in the world, so somebody must be commenting on my grandkids. And all of a sudden, you spend half your day sitting in front of Facebook, wasting time. Now, you can do good things, but you know what? It's not important. And it's really not urgent. Whether they comment on your picture or your statement or your post or your share, it's not urgent, folks. But we spend inordinate amount of times dealing with these kinds of things. So what we really need to do, we just need to delay it. Now, if it's urgent and important, just do it. I'm not quoting Nike, but you just need to do it, okay? But if it's urgent and not important, it feels urgent. And this is what one author says, it's the tyranny of the urgent. That we have everything, and we and our social media and our phone systems and other people, their thinking is that it's urgent to them, and so it's got to be urgent for you, right? Wrong. It does not necessarily have to be urgent to you. Your problem, not necessarily my emergency. Now, doesn't mean I don't care. It just means that in the middle of what's going on. Now, if it's urgent and important, well, do it. But if it feels urgent, but it's not really important, delay it. This is what we need to do. We need to delay it. Well, we come over here, and this is just wasting time over here if you get down here in box 4. Why? It's not urgent. It's not important. Do you know how many hours a week we spend in box 4? This is your busy work. This is your time wasters. And it's so easy to waste time. Candy Crush, man. You can waste some time on Candy Crush. And you can just blow a whole hour, and before you know it, you've blown an hour. And we need to be redeeming the time and not wasting our time. There are also some calls that go here. There's some emails that go here. There's some meetings. How many times have you sat in a meeting and thought to yourself the whole time, why am I here? Man, more than I can count. Why am I here? And see, the problem is, a lot of times we gather people into a meeting that don't need to be in the meeting. I've been guilty of it. I've been guilty of calling people into a meeting. Some of them didn't even need to be there, but we brought them in. We have to stop this. We can also get into gossip is over here. We can and excessive anything. Excessive TV, excessive video games, excessive Facebooking and social media, excessive things that can turn into obsessive things. They're not urgent and they're not important. See, not urgent, not important. This is box 4. It's wasting time. What do you got to do? You need to quit it. Now, Eisenhower would have called this delete. You just need to delete it. You need to delete it out of your life. You need to delete it. And here's the reality. There are times when you need a rest and you need a nap, okay? But you don't necessarily need to be down here in the wasting box, because that wasting box will waste away, and it will waste you away, and it just wastes time. And these are the problems when we get to the end of a week going, where'd this week go? I don't get it. Where did it go? So what's your strategy? Your strategy is avoid this box. Now, I'm not going to say that I don't watch my share of TV. I'm not going to say that I don't play my share of Sudoku. I'm not going to say I don't spend some time in social media, and part of that's for my job, and part of it's for my personal relationships that I'm keeping up with. So it's a part of it, and I get that. Okay? I'm not saying box 4 is the devil. Okay, it's not the devil, but we have to understand where it sits in the rest of our week. If you were to add up your hours in your week and you find the bulk of your time is down here in box 4, we have a problem. You have a time management problem. And this is going to lead to stress and anxiety. It's going to lead to issues and problems. You're going to drop deadlines. You're going to drop projects. You're going to drop responsibilities. And it's going to overwhelm you because of the obsessive nature of it. And so we have to be careful. So I have all obviously saved the best for last. Not urgent. I'll explain that in a minute. But very important. It's not urgent. The stuff that we're going to put into this box, this stuff is quality items. This is quality items. They're not going to come knocking down your door. They're not going to come and ask you to do things. This is where you have to decide. You have to choose to be in this box. You and I can find 40,000 other reasons and excuses and meetings and calls and social media and mail and email and blah, and never spend time in this box. You want to know why you're not satisfied in life? You want to know why you don't feel like there's any purpose in life? You want to know why you get to the end of your week and the end of your day and you say, as Stephen Curtis Chapman was saying years ago, there's got to be more to this life. There is, and it's found in this box. It's quality box. The quality box. This is where you spend time in preparation and planning. You spend time preparing and planning. Stephen Covey taught years ago about this time management stuff. He used this box. It was the Eisenhower box, but he used it in the Franklin Covey system, and he uses it there too. And he says, and he teaches, and I've been through that training, if you would take 1 hour a day, 1 hour a week, 1 hour a week, 1 hour a week, and spend time to prepare and to plan for the week. Maybe you and your wife need to sit down and have a 1 hour marriage meeting. You and your kids need to sit down 1 hour a week and have a staff meeting, a family meeting, and simply say, what's coming, what's changed, what are we doing? What are we going to add? What are we going to drop? What are we going to start? What are we going to stop? Spend an hour. I tell you, I promise you, if you'll spend 1 hour a week, it'll save your marriage. It'll save your family. You'll stop with the arguments about, well, I didn't know, and how come you weren't there? Because we didn't take time in the quality box. And we've got to spend time in the quality. Relationships happen in the quality box. And you go, oh, wait a minute. I really connect with my son through video games. Okay, that may be the vehicle, but it's kind of like saying, where are you going on your date? It's your first date. Thousands of us in the 80s and 90s, where'd we go on our first date? To the movies. Why? Because I didn't have to talk. I mean, how do you get to know anybody at a movie? You don't get to know anybody at a movie. Go to dinner, talk. Go get a Coke and talk. Get a coffee and talk. Stare at one another a little bit until words start to form in your mouth after the fear subsides. We need to realize that relationships are not built in box 4. Relationships are built in box 2, in the quality area, in the decision. I choose to be here. Now, you can choose to be here and utilize some other things. I'm not saying you can't develop a relationship in Facebook, okay? I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is it's so easy to get distracted out of this into this if we're using the wrong vehicular issues. We're using the wrong vehicles, we're using the wrong moments, and we're not actually experiencing a sense of growth. Growth is spent here. You can't just keep drinking a protein shake and expect to grow muscles. You actually have to go to the gym and lift the weight. You actually have to spend quality time on a bench in order to get the growth. Spiritually speaking, you're not just going to automatically develop as a believer in Christ. Discipleship happens here. That D group that you've been avoiding now for 3 weeks or 3 years, that D group that you have exited out of, that you're not involved in or you never thought you needed it, it's because it takes quality time. You've got to spend the time. You got to put in the work if you want to get the results out of it. Now, we do all kinds of things, don't we? But if you want to have quality, if you want to get to the end of your week, the end of your day, listen, if you want to get to the end of your life and have it said of you, well done, my good and faithful servant, you need to spend time. What's your strategy here? To choose it. Choose it. So, Eisenhower matrix, time management. There are things in our life that are urgent and important. You got to do those things. There are things in our life that are urgent or feel urgent, or they're trying to make you think it's urgent, but they're not important. You need to delay those things or delegate those things to somebody else. Can you send somebody else? Send somebody else. If you can delegate it, if you can delay it, if you could just say, hey, I'm not even opening my email until after lunch. Or you can set aside a time and say, you know what, my best time, I think the best, I do my best work between the hours of 8 and 11. Then you need to shut your door and do the work you need to. But maybe, hey, you know what, Aaron, I do my best work from 1 to 4. I do my best napping from 1 to 4, but that's a whole other issue. Maybe you do your best. Hey, maybe you're a night owl and you do your best work from 10 to 2 a.m. I don't know. But in those moments, do the things. Plan, prepare, develop, grow. Choose those things. They're not going to come knocking down your door. God, even God in your spiritual growth and development, isn't going to come and go, why aren't you in my word? Why aren't you talking to me? Why don't we have what? Come on, let's go. They're not going to do. He's not going to do that. You're not going to feel the urgency, but I'm telling you, it's very important. Choose to spend time in this box. Well, if you have any questions or if you need any more explanation, I'd love to chat with you. You can put it in the chat box. You can email me, message me. I will check it. It just isn't going to be up in my box all the time. I will get back with you. Love to help you out to develop a sense of purpose and meaning in your life. Stop wasting your life and choose a better one. You guys have a great day.